Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just unpacked the rest of week 0. Obviously, a lot of focus on that Florida State-Georgia Tech game, but wanted to give some shout-outs to the other games on the schedule because we had some good ones other than the Georgia Tech-Florida State. But let's get into the players of the week. I want to do this every single week throughout the year. Obviously, this one is a little bit more centric on a couple of games, but at the end of the day, there were a couple of players that made some huge plays for their teams to get wins this past weekend, and I want to start in that Florida State-Georgia Tech game, and we'll start with Amari Harvey. He had 7 tackles, 5 solo tackles, and 1 tackle for loss, but this guy was everywhere. He made every single play that Georgia Tech needed to be made throughout this game, and the biggest one, in my opinion, or he made 2 huge ones, but one of the biggest ones was on Florida State was on Georgia Tech's 33-yard line. It was Florida State, I believe, 3rd and 4, and they were driving pretty well. They had a really good concept lined up, and Lawrence Tuafili got absolutely free on one side of the field, and it looked like he was going to get that first down, and then Amari Harvey came flying downhill and made a great open field tackle, knocked him down with 2 yards left, and forced them to kick a rather long field goal. Now, Ryan Fitzgerald made that field goal like he does make pretty much every field goal, it seems, but at the end of the day, that was a huge momentum shift and definitely something that kept the pressure on Florida State just a little bit. And also, on the other side of this guy and the rest of the corners on the Florida State, or on the Georgia Tech team, made it so much easier for Tyler Santucci to call the plays that he was calling, because you can't call that many blitzes. You can't have that many corners and safeties and linebackers coming on blitzes if you don't have really good coverage on the back end. So huge shout out to not only Amari Harvey, but all of the corners on Georgia Tech, because they were very sticky in coverage for the majority of this game, and that was the reason that Tyler Santucci and this defense was able to be so disruptive and so multiple and so different, and it made this game just incredibly difficult for DJ. So huge shout out to Amari Harvey. He might have made the 2 biggest plays of the game, with that tackle on Lawrence Tuafili and another tackle on, I believe, DJ to end another drive late in the game. So incredible play from him, but he was right next to another player that made a number of plays. Kyle Efford was a guy that went a little bit viral during this game because he has that big collar that a lot of linebackers have. He looks like a very classic linebacker, and I absolutely love it as well. He's absolutely incredible and is the green dot guy for this team, so was the communicator, did an incredible job throughout that, because as we just talked about, with a lot of these exotic blitzes and a lot of these different play calls throughout the game, you got to make sure that everyone's on the same page, and that was a huge point of emphasis for this team, and Kyle Efford answered that bell. There's no 2 ways about that. So, so huge shout out to him. Remarkable player. Definitely a guy that I love watching, because he plays the game with so much aggression, so much energy, and just so much love for the game. It's really fun to watch. Finished with 10 tackles, 1 solo tackle, and half a tackle for loss, but he was all over the place. He made every play, he plugged every hole, and made everything just so much easier for this defense. So, being the leader of this defense, he had to make some plays, and man did he. He was really impressive throughout this game, and is going to be a huge player for Georgia Tech going forward. The guy that made the headlines, though, was Jamal Haynes. He made so many plays throughout this game, and I love this kid so much because his measurables are 5'9", 190. He does not run like he's 5'9", 190. He runs like he's about 6 foot, 210. So he's a very physical runner, even for his size, and he really showed that on Saturday. It was really remarkable. He made a number of big-time plays, including a huge third down catch where he made DJ Lundy look a little bit stupid and put him on skates, and definitely had a huge play where they had a false start on that play before, where it was 3rd and 2. It went back to 3rd and 7. And then he makes that catch, goes for 16 yards, and continues that final drive. So that might have been the play of the game, where you really needed someone to make a play, and Jamal Haynes made a really huge one right at that moment. So along with the work that he did on the ground, where 11 carries, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. A very talented kid, and is going to be a huge part of this offense moving forward. I absolutely love his play, and I think when you talk about a Brent Key team that is hard-nosed, that is not going to be denied, that is going to play a little bit above their weight class, this guy embodies all of that. Incredible player, and someone that I just cannot get enough of, frankly. So cannot wait to watch him the rest of the year, and I think he's going to be a huge player for this Tech team. I kind of want to combine Preston Stone and RJ Maryland. I just want to talk about the fourth quarter that they have, because it was insane. We talked about how Preston Stone was 14 for 20 with 200 yards and a touchdown in the second half. A lot of that was to RJ Maryland, and RJ Maryland finished with 8 catches, 162 yards in that game-winning touchdown catch, but In the fourth quarter, in those final 2 drives, he had 4 catches, 116 yards, and a touchdown just between these 2 guys. That is absolutely remarkable, and that is those 2 guys deciding we are going to take over this game. We are not losing this game. We are not going down to Nevada in week 1. We are going to win it, and it's going to be because of us. And that's exactly what happened. It was really, really incredible to watch. In the final 2 drives of this game, they combined for gains of 49, 20, 13 on a 3rd and 7, a 13-yard pass, which was huge, and then the eventual touchdown catch of 34 yards. So it was remarkable. They absolutely finished this game, and whenever SMU needed a play down the stretch, it was Preston Stone making a pass to R.J. Maryland 9 times out of 10. So it was really, really remarkable between those 2 guys, and they were the reason that they won that game down the stretch. I can promise you that. Brendan Lewis is someone we talked about a little bit before. He had a really, really nice game. And a lot of it was on the ground, but 14 for 26, had 209 total yards, had 2 touchdowns, 77 yards on the ground, so did plenty of work on the ground. And as we talked about earlier, he made so many plays to just keep the drive moving, to make sure that Nevada was staying in front of the sticks, had that 3rd and 7, a big-time run that he made. So a number of different plays that had to be made, and Brendan Lewis was the guy that made him 9 times out of 10. So very, very dynamic player. One of those guys that you get in a Mountain West play, you're likely not going to be the more talented team on most days. This is a great equalizer, a guy that can walk on the field and cause problems for pretty much any defense in the country, and he definitely did for SMU on Saturday. So a very impressive performance from him, definitely one that they're going to need a little bit more of as they get throughout the Mountain West schedule if they want to make some noise, but a very impressive start to his season and someone definitely to watch as we continue on. Devon Dampier is someone I want to talk about. This is a guy that I've loved since last year, frankly, but he is a little bit more on the national radar now. He finished with 18 for 26, 206 total yards, 2 total touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 passing, and he made a ton of big-time plays, including that just incredible bootleg that he took for a 24-yard rushing touchdown. But overall, this guy is very, very talented. He's one of those guys that you look at New Mexico's roster overall, it's not the craziest thing in the world. It's not necessarily overly incredible. That guy quarterback is incredible. It's kind of like Nevada in a lot of ways, where you have that quarterback that is going to make the plays that you need him to make. So maybe they're a little bit more interesting in the Mountain West than we once thought, because this guy is a whole lot of fun. And if they can find a couple other players around him to make some plays, it's going to be a team that maybe isn't going to compete for the Mountain West, but definitely could make some things interesting and give some teams some headaches on a certain Saturday. So going to be incredible to watch that guy, a guy that I really, really like and have liked for quite some time, but now a little bit more on the national spotlight, and love to see that, obviously. And then moving on to the duo of running backs for the Montana State. They went to work. It was incredible to watch Aaron Jones and Scooter Humphrey go to work in this game. It was incredible. They had 36 carries, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game, and it split very, very evenly. Jones had 17 carries, 167 and a touchdown. Humphrey had 19 carries, 140 and a touchdown. So it went pretty evenly, and a lot of the Jones yards were on that 93-yard carry that gave Montana State a shot in this game. So incredible play from both these guys, and they were the only reason that they were in this one. Tommy Malott really put them in a tough spot in a number of different ways with those 2 fumble sixes, but at the end of the day, he was able to flip a switch, but there's no switch to flip if these guys are not holding it down in the run game. I can promise you that. So an incredible performance from these 2 guys, and they made every single play that they needed. So it could have been sullied by 2 big-time mistakes down the stretch, but Tommy Malott was able to flip the switch. Maybe he's another player to highlight here, but at the end of the day, the running backs were the ones that won the day for them. And overall, I mean, Week 0 had a ton of big-time players. It had a ton of guys that came out of nowhere and made all of the plays that they needed to make for their team. Obviously, Jamal Haynes is someone that you're going to hear plenty from this year, as well as R.J. Maryland, that is going to be an absolute monster throughout this year. But at the end of the day, there are some guys that I wanted to highlight from the FCS ranks that just deserve their due. You know, they deserve a little bit of more love, deserve a little bit juice going their way. And then the guys on the Georgia Tech defense definitely deserve some love. Amari Harvey and Kyle Efford were all over the place, including some other guys. Zeke Biggers made some plays. Romello Height was an incredible player for a number of different plays throughout that game. So it was really, really awesome to watch all of these guys play. And this is obviously something that we'll do throughout the next, couple of weeks, really throughout the season, honestly. And we'll break down all of the big-time players as I see it. But this obviously was a little bit more concentrated around those 4 games, but there are plenty more that we can highlight throughout the next little bit, and it'll be really, really fun to get into this throughout the week, and maybe it's a little bit of a sneak peek of the Heisman odds as we get throughout the year. But let's take our final break here, and when we come back, we're going to do some of the questions. We're going to turn the page finally from week 0 to week 1. We're going to ask some of the big-time questions out there for the top matchups in week 1. We got some pretty big glaring questions that need to be answered before we get to that game, or some of these teams might be in a little bit of trouble. So we'll break that down right after this, so stick with us.